first of all, it is kind of obvious, but it's important to mention and to underline that this was the first parliamentarian summit of the Crimea Platform, because before we had this governmental dimension of the governmental track. In the previous year, that was the inaugural summit, and this year it was second summit, which was held online with the presence of the heads of the states or prime ministers. And now we have this parliamentarian dimension enacted, which is really important because obviously parliaments are, if I may say so, closer to the people and to the public and to the societies. So therefore it's kind of very important, again, to mention this. And besides, we as an office of the Crimea Platform, because when you were asking about the discussions, so during the plenary session on the October 25th, there was no room for the discussions because that was kind of statements from the representatives of the parliaments of the 55 countries. So it was not actually a discussion. That was kind of political statements, the collection of political statements in support of Ukraine, of course, and territorial integrity, but still. Therefore, we understood that's why we suggested that we actually organized, with the support of the expert network of the Crimea Platform, separate day, which provided the room and the place for actually discussions on Crimea and around Crimea. And of course, there was also this wider context of the current political moment and the experience of the region, I mean, Balkan region, regarding the reintegration and overcoming the consequences of the war and of the armed conflicts. And I think that was really productive decision because, of course, we took the chance of engaging various representatives of Ukrainian state that participated in the summit, that came to participate in the summit. And we also brought some of the local Croatian experts and former government representatives who precisely dealt with this issue of the reintegration. And we have invited several international experts like Rory Finin, for instance, brilliant academic who established Ukrainian studies in Cambridge. And of course, Ukrainian experts were also there in order to provide this, exchange of the information on what's going on in Crimea now after the full-scale invasion, but and also what is suggested by the Ukrainian state now, what's the vision of the deoccupation and further reintegration, and to get this feedback from the expert community and from the local expert community regarding their experience and how can it work out or may not work out. I think that was really useful, and that's very important to combine if you have like events like that, to have also something parallel which can give people the possibility to discuss, to interact more deeper, but not just to remain in this purely political framework, because obviously those people who were speaking on behalf of their parliaments were not like expressing their personal views or something. They were representing some political position of the parliament, of the state, etc. So therefore, I think that this discussion, which was from time to time very honest and very straight and forward, was really very useful. And of course, it's always good to have this not only people representing the state, but also expert community, especially given the fact that from the very beginning, Crimea Platform was proclaiming 3 tracks, 3 dimensions: governmental, parliamentarian, and expert network. That's a kind of full-scale track of the Crimea Platform, not less important than others too. here I would like to make a disclaimer that the main organizer of the summit itself, I mean the plenary session, was Ukrainian Parliament, Verkhovna Rada, and Croatian Parliament, Croatian Sabor. So therefore, we were not, I mean, we were helping out in some aspects with regards to the substantial issues on what's going on in Crimea, and we were producing the videos about the situation in Crimea, etc. But we were not kind of inviting countries because it's not our mandate. That was done by Verkhovna Rada jointly with Sabor. However, of course, there were additional countries or new countries who joined the plenary session and who joined the declaration that was sounded in the end of the plenary session, and I think that now we can see more and more, and I'm really glad to say that we can see more and more Ukraine diversify, so to say, our foreign policy efforts to not only countries within the EU and North America, but also to the so-called global South. And it's also reflected to the limited extent, but still at the Crimea Platform. We have seen that in the governmental summit in this year on August 23rd, and we can see it now within the parliamentary summit. And it also goes beyond that, because we have seen that Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kuleba, having this African tour, and also civil society representatives that also participated in our discussion program. They were sharing their experience of recent advocacy activities in some of the African countries. So I think that's kind of larger picture of this attempts of Ukraine to go beyond these usual suspects, so to say, usual partners, and that's a very good sign. But of course, Crimea is a very issue that, I mean, we all understand that Russia is very influential in this so-called global South, and it's really complicated to engage new partners in these regions. And I'm not an expert on that, and I cannot comment whether it's we have to make more efforts to do that, or it's just, in some cases, I can presume it's just hopeless. We cannot engage some of the countries that are really have lots of links with Russia, but still it's worth trying, definitely. And I'm glad that Crimea Platform is kind of also involved in this important process, and we can see it like very clearly with the new members or new kind of countries that somehow take part in the various activities of Crimea Platform.